Healthy eating, two words everyone's familiar with, but what do they really mean? Green smoothies, superfoods, intuitive eating, the Mediterranean diet. The list of recommendations is endless. But let's be honest, is an avocado truly healthier than a piece of bread? And why are these ultra-processed foods such a big deal? In this episode, we'll dive deep into the science of eating and uncover what really matters when it comes to our diet. The history of nutrition is also a history of change, often, unfortunately, not always for the better. From the proud heritage of hunter-gatherers who lived on what nature provided, we've become consumers of industrially produced products. This transformation brought us convenience, new taste experiences, and more control over our diet, but it's also the source of numerous diseases of civilization. Today, nutrition is a multi-billion-dollar market where science, marketing, and the interests of the food industry collide. Let's start at the beginning, with our ancestors, the hunter-gatherers. For hundreds of thousands of years, people lived on what they could hunt, fish, and gather: wild animals, fresh fish, fruits, berries, nuts, seeds, and roots. Their diet was diverse, seasonal, and natural, unprocessed, without additives, refined sugar, or artificial flavors. But life as a hunter-gatherer was anything but easy. There were times when, for extended periods, there was hardly anything to eat, leading to famines. And yes, the food supply was occasionally seriously jeopardized. Although our research shows that our bodies adapted to this food scarcity over long periods, even that has its limits. Our ancestors were heavily dependent on natural conditions and had little influence over when and what they could eat. What can we learn from this today? Firstly, that our bodies have adapted over millennia to a diet rich in natural and unprocessed foods. Evidence suggests that hunter-gatherers were generally healthier than people in later agricultural societies, even though life as a hunter-gatherer was inherently harsh and often associated with a lower life expectancy, not primarily because of diet, but because of other dangers like injuries, infections, and predators. In that era, mistakes and weaknesses could be not just critical, but often life-threatening. With the Neolithic Revolution, the beginning of agriculture and animal husbandry around 10,000 years ago, nutrition changed fundamentally. Grain became the staple food, and diets became more monotonous. This had advantages and disadvantages. On the one hand, agriculture enabled higher population densities and the emergence of civilizations. On the other hand, the monotonous diet led to deficiencies and new diseases. Before the industrial age, food compared to today was still simple. People cooked fresh, grew their own, or bought it at the market. With industrialization in the 19th and 20th centuries, canned goods, refined sugar, and processed grain products came onto the table in a big way. In the 1950s, nutritionist Ancel Keys came onto the scene and declared fat the main culprit in heart disease, a thesis that still resonates today but is also critically questioned. At the same time, the sugar industry cleverly seized the opportunity to demonize fat and portray sugar as a harmless energy source. And in the 1960s, the next bombshell. Howard Moskowitz discovered the Bliss point, the perfect combination of sugar, salt, and fat that makes us want to eat more and more. All these events have shaped our current eating habits, and as we'll see, not always for the better. And here we come to a key term: ultra-processed foods. What's behind it? Professor Carlos Monteiro of the University of São Paulo developed the NOVA system, which classifies foods into 4 categories according to their degree of processing. From fresh, unprocessed ingredients, Group 1, to industrially produced products packed with additives, flavorings, and emulsifiers, Group 4. And it's precisely this Group 4 that's the problem. Studies show when people primarily eat ultra-processed foods, they consume more calories and gain weight, even if the calorie and nutrient intake is the same as with a diet of unprocessed foods. Dr. Kevin Hall of the National Institute of Health proved this in a groundbreaking study in 2019. He showed that ultra-processed food disrupts our natural satiety signals and leads to cravings. But why do we even eat so many ultra-processed foods? Because the food industry pulls out all the stops to make us do so. Howard Moskowitz's discovery of the Bliss point was just the beginning. The industry specifically optimizes its products for optimal taste, with fatal consequences. Think of the phenomenon of vanishing caloric density, foods that practically melt in your mouth and hardly trigger a feeling of fullness, chips, chocolate, many breakfast cereals. Or clean labeling, the trick of hiding additives behind harmless-sounding names to sell us a good conscience. And be warned, as early as the 1960s, tobacco companies began investing in the food industry. They transferred their marketing strategies, which were so successful with cigarettes, to food. They realized that addictive behavior can be triggered not only by nicotine, but also by sugar, fat, and salt. But what are the long-term consequences of excessive consumption of ultra-processed foods? Studies indicate an increased risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and even certain types of cancer. Dr. Mathilde Touvier is investigating how food additives, especially emulsifiers, affect the gut and has found evidence of chronic inflammation. And Dr. Ashley Gearhard of the University of Michigan is researching how ultra-processed foods activate the reward system in the brain. Her conclusion: these foods actually have a strong addictive potential, similar to drugs. But what can we do in the face of these problems? Are there ways out of the nutritional trap? Yes, there are. First and foremost, political measures are essential to effectively address the challenges in the food sector. Profound political changes are needed that go far beyond mere recommendations. Countries like Colombia have already paved the way, for example, by introducing warning labels on processed foods or special taxes on particularly unhealthy products. These initiatives are intended not only to regulate the consumption of such products, but also to raise public awareness of a healthier lifestyle. A key step is the introduction of transparent labeling systems that show consumers at a glance which foods are potentially harmful to health. Warning labels play a central role here. They can warn of excessive sugar content, high saturated fatty acids, or other unhealthy ingredients. At the same time, targeted tax revenues help to at least partially offset the health costs resulting from an unhealthy diet. Such fiscal measures also create an incentive to invest in research and development towards healthier product variants. Furthermore, political measures are also of great importance because they create framework conditions that enable long-term change. This involves not only regulating advertising and promoting educational campaigns, but also structurally supporting local and sustainable agriculture. This could mean that subsidies are specifically granted to producers of natural and unprocessed foods to strengthen the market for healthy food alternatives. By the state acting as a pace-setter, negative external effects such as eating disorders and diseases of civilization can be effectively combated. But there's also a lot that we can all do, and mindfulness plays a central role. By becoming aware of what we eat and why, we create the foundation for healthier eating habits. It's worth reading ingredient lists carefully, critically questioning advertising promises, and not being guided solely by so-called clean labels, which are often more appearance than reality. At the same time, the concept of intuitive eating invites us to listen to our body's signals again. We eat when we feel hungry and stop when we're full, without classifying foods into rigid categories like good or bad. In conjunction with these approaches, the increased focus on natural foods also comes to the fore. Instead of highly processed products, which often contain many additives, we should focus as much as possible on unprocessed or only minimally processed foods. These not only provide valuable nutrients, but also support our metabolism and reduce the risk of chronic diseases. When we cook ourselves, we retain control over the ingredients and can specifically integrate fresh, nutrient-rich foods into our diet. Studies show that certain foods have particularly positive effects on our health. For example, tomato paste, with its high lycopene content, a powerful antioxidant, protects our cells from oxidative stress, while oat bran, with its beta-glucan, has been shown to lower cholesterol levels and is therefore good for the heart. Berries and citrus fruits also make a significant contribution to a balanced diet, as their high concentration of antioxidants strengthens the immune system and protects cells. Vegetables like cabbage and beetroot provide a variety of minerals and vitamins that are essential for cell regeneration and a functioning metabolism. In addition, chicory and artichokes, with their bitter substances, support digestion and promote liver function. High-fiber foods like psyllium and flaxseed help regulate digestion and promote a healthy gut microbiome. Dates are a natural, nutrient-rich alternative to refined sugar, as they not only taste sweet, but are also rich in fiber and minerals. Equally valuable are herbs like watercress, which, thanks to their high vitamin content and antioxidant properties, make an important contribution to overall health. Last but not least, water forms the foundation of all metabolic processes. Adequate fluid intake is crucial for the optimal functioning of our bodies. It is important that we drink regularly throughout the day, instead of infrequently consuming large quantities, so that our body is continuously supplied with the necessary hydration. Healthy eating isn't rocket science. It's about being aware of what we eat, seeing through the marketing tricks of the food industry, and listening more to our body's signals. Ultra-processed foods are problematic, not only because of their ingredients, but also because they manipulate our eating behavior and lead us to eat more than we actually need. A diet based primarily on unprocessed natural foods that takes our individual needs into account is the cornerstone of long-term health. It's not about deprivation, but about increased awareness and a balanced approach. Did this episode help you look at the topic of nutrition from a new perspective? Then subscribe to our channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any new videos and episodes. Share your thoughts and questions in the comments. We're eager to hear what you have to say and what experiences you've had with ultra-processed foods. The links to the studies mentioned can be found in the description. And remember, it's your body, your health, your decision. Don't be confused, get informed, and take responsibility for your nutrition. We wish you a long, healthy, and happy life. Until next time.